This holiday season, think about giving a gift with privacy, security, and health with Silent Pocket's high-quality product line of patented Faraday bags, phone cases, and wallets. Visit silentpocket.com today and be sure to use discount code SHAREDSECURITY to receive 10% off your order during checkout.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training, or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to learn how to build a self-defending team.
Welcome to episode 106 of the Shared Security monthly show. That's right. Wow. 106.
2020 is coming to an end, Tom.
Thank goodness.
I was wondering what you were going to say with that. You guys have a brand new president, sort of.
Well, not yet. President-elect.
Don't jump the gun. Don't jinx it.
Yeah. No, nobody's jumping the gun anywhere around here in the U.S. Like, why would that happen? Yeah. It's been a very interesting election season. I'm sure all of you in Canada are waiting with bated breath to see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
It's interesting. I mean, it's not quite as much news watching as there was before the election, but it's still interesting for sure. You guys make it interesting. So.
Well, it seems that your prime minister has already congratulated President-elect Biden, so that's good, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of them have. So it's there aren't too many holdouts, but there's a few that are causing trouble.
Yes. Well, it's always interesting here in the U.S. I'm sure you guys are, looking at the news every day, just shaking your head and.
I don't get time to read the news really. So
No. So what have you been up to, Scott? It's been
it's been busy time. I mean, ClickArmor's gone through the pandemic pretty well. Actually got a big order from a government organization, so
very nice.
Got some good runway now, and lots of fun things happening. We're really focusing on selling to partners like managed service providers and people who develop awareness programs for their own organization or for their customers. We're really keen to work with people like that to help them create, a sort of brand new look and feel on a new skin on their content kind of thing, right?
That's great.
The MSPs really, it's something really exciting for them, I think, because they realize the problem. It's an interesting market because they're all very similar. They're all serving small businesses that have a lot of the same problems. All of the same technologies work really well for them. So it's a much easier market to talk to from my point of view. And they really see the problems, that come up for small businesses, and they're not really happy with the way things are going right now in terms of what's available for awareness training. So they see this as something really interesting and exciting. So I was just on a conference this past week, event called Channel Next, and it was a cyber conference. And every presenter that went up there at some point mentioned security awareness, and and they got plugs all the way through it. So that was great. It's exciting. We're really planning to hit a lot more events and sponsorships and things like that. So it's going to be fun.
That's great. Great to see you guys growing and getting business. And
we're hiring too.
So, excellent.
We're actually hiring a full stack developer right now. So, prefer the Ottawa area, but these days, who knows, right? I mean,
everything's remote
anywhere, but so we won't count you out if you're a great candidate. So
do you have to be Canadian?
No, not at all.
Great.
We'll figure it out. As my COO would say. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's awesome. Great. Yeah. And from my perspective, I had some news as well. I started a new job.
Oh, that's right.
the last
Yes.
couple
Yeah,
weeks. Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank
And
you. So,
who's the
I,
lucky company?
so I now work for Bishop Fox, which is a consulting firm here in the U.S., a
Right.
cybersecurity consulting firm, and I am the application security practice director. So
Nice. Nice. Well, it's going to be a fun change
it
in role for you.
is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I'm really excited. They got a great team over at Bishop Fox, and we're going to be doing some really cool stuff in the AppSec industry. So stay tuned.
Nice. Right. Yeah. Maybe we'll still get a chance to meet at a conference someday.
Maybe if there ever is a conference in person
Yeah. Yeah.
one of
That's
these
true.
days. I think next year we're gonna. I think things around this time next year, and I don't like predicting things, but I will just go out and on a limb and say it. But I think we'll be in a better position if these vaccines that we're hearing
Yeah.
in the news start to come out early next year, and
Yeah.
we may start to slowly get back to normal by this
Yeah.
time next year.
Thanks to Project Warp Speed, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, everyone is on Project Warp Speed all across the world. So not just in the US, but everybody wants
Okay.
to end
Yeah.
this pandemic.
Yes.
So,
Awesome.
but speaking of the topic for today and the pandemic, and I think just the holidays in general. So this time of year, it's just a crazy time in terms of cybersecurity and privacy scams and
Yeah.
phishing
It
attacks.
always is, right? But this year is
Yeah.
going to be kind of a different angle on it.
Yes, yes. This year, especially because we've seen this large shift of everyone not only working remote, but people are doing less in person shopping. So the online shopping has just been booming
Yeah.
over the last couple of weeks here. So,
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's I think you brought up an article that we
yeah.
can talk about.
Yes, our friends over at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So, if you've listened to our past podcasts, I just did one last week with Kevin Johnson about how Chris Krebs, who was the director
Yes.
of that agency, was fired by President Trump over Twitter, and so we gave our thoughts about that situation. But needless to say, that organization continues to do just really great work and I'm really impressed actually with the material that they released for this upcoming holiday season around staying safe online, holiday shopping tips. And so we'll
Yep.
talk about some of those, but also we're going to give you, I think, our own opinion of,
Yeah.
what you need to do to stay safe.
Yep. For sure. Sounds good. So where are we going to start on this big
So,
topic?
so I want to start with kind of the top three scams that are going on right now this
Mhm.
holiday season, and the first one is around online gift card scams. So this again is something that we've seen in the past. This is nothing new, but again, it's increased because everyone is at home. There's more targeted social engineering around the pandemic and
Yeah.
around, getting you to click on links, right? And one of those is, gift cards, which are
Yeah.
extremely popular.
Mhm.
And there is a thing about gift cards that a lot of people don't understand is not only are there scams online, but there are scams in the stores as
Yeah.
well. So I'm not sure, Scott, have you heard about how scammers will go in and they'll replace the little scratch off
Yep.
on the cards themselves with another sticker, and then when those cards are activated and purchased, the scammers get notified that that card has been activated, and then they go ahead and drain the account by either
Right.
buying electronics or other things. So
Yeah. Interesting.
that's an interesting one.
I kind of knew that was happening. It's been happening for like a few years probably.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is, as you have more people wanting to stay at home and not traveling, maybe for the holidays, um, how can attackers exploit online gift cards without the actual card?
Yeah, so this comes through, a phishing email, right? So they're going to get you to either purchase a gift card through a malicious link, right? So to give away your credit card information, other personal details. So that's
Right.
a popular phishing scam. There may be other ones that, that want you to reload a
Yeah.
gift card, right? That maybe
Right.
you've already used
True.
in order to get your financial information. So they kind of run the gamut from what the CISA and other government agencies have been alerting the public about.
Right.
But that really comes down to understanding phishing emails
Yep.
and the social engineering angle.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I'm all about.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Um,
Yeah.
and there's other things too that, around account takeovers. So we've talked about password stuffing attacks, right?
Hmm.
Where your login and password may have been exposed through a data breach. And these databases are publicly available for attackers to download. And what they do is they attempt to log in as you using those stolen credentials. And then they could also use that information against you in a phishing
Right.
attack as well. So
Right.
we've seen lots of these over just the last year where you'll get an email that says, "Hey, I know your password," and it
Yeah.
actually shows you your password.
Yeah.
And for someone that may not understand how their data is compromised, that can be a little scary, thinking that, wow, how'd this person get my password?
Yeah. Yeah. Not as hard as you would imagine in a lot of
No.
cases. But it's interesting when you think of the the credential stuffing attack, and people say, I can't, how do they spend my money, with or commit fraud on me? And what I say is, if you're buying stuff online, from online merchants, I recommend never storing your credit card data with the merchants.
Great tip.
So there's always the offer, hey, and it's probably sometimes pre-checked, right? The little check
Yes.
box, save your data so that it's easier to check out next time. So, but that's kind of the starting point for how that data can get compromised.
That's right. And then there's just the fact of the coronavirus and the pandemic and the phishing scams related to that. So, everybody is on
Yeah.
edge because of COVID-19. And we see a lot of scams in emails that use that, kind of threatening tone, if you
Yeah.
will, or scary tone in a lot of ways in an attempt to get you to click a link because everybody is just really concerned about the pandemic going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've been telling people about this since probably April May timeframe when there's sort of the news or a cycle that came out that said there's been a 300% increase in phishing websites, right?
Yeah.
And that was when people started to really take notice of it. But the interesting thing was at that time we created a site. ClickArmor has a webpage called "Can I Be Phished," where you can go and do a 10 email self-assessment. And it's interesting because well, first of all, it's business oriented, but it simulates a lot of the potential situations where you might get an email from the help desk, right? Something about how your work from home environment has changed or whatever. Or it might be from, the World Health Organization or
Yeah.
your HR group or someone. They're mostly in our case, we set it up to be for businesses. But there are a few people that, kind of were thinking, oh, this, I don't really understand. What is this LinkedIn thing? So but in general, it's a good tool for assessing your own ability to spot phishing emails and what's in them. And so you can see behind me my little guide that I use in the Can I Be Phished
Mm-hmm.
podcast. In that podcast, if you haven't been there, it's a session where I usually go through, or what I call unboxing a phishing email. So I'll take an email that I've received or somebody sent me that has clearly some malicious intent and some clues. So we go through the checklist that I have behind me. So there's the gut feel garbage check is the first thing, where I just say, have a look at it and say, does this even look professional if it's supposed to be coming from a professional organization? Many of us can spot that. But if you can't discount it from that, you can go to what I call the sender sanity. So you'll look at the sender name, and if you don't see the email address, you should try to uncover it if you're not sure, because even if it looks like it's from somebody but it's a weird situation, it's good to click on the sender name and see if it's a valid or recognizable sender email address. And then the link elusiveness, which is all about just checking to see if there are some sort of hidden intent in the links or even in the attachments, where there are names or link targets that are hidden, that you can spend just a couple of seconds to uncover and see if they're legitimate or not. And then finally is just the body believability. So looking carefully at the wording, a lot of times we'll say, well, if there's typos, it could be a problem. Well, a lot of legitimate emails have typos in them, but you can tell because if the same word is spelt wrong or there's bad grammar, then it's a little bit more of a tip off. But yeah, there's a lot of ways by looking at the body content and putting it all together with the links and the sender information to decide, yeah, this is not real. So the more you can do to discount an email and decide that it's suspicious, the better.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into, I think, our top tips to stay safe this holiday season. And I think number one, like you said, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, right?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, there are so many ways now, even looking at, we talked a little earlier about, the gift card scam. It could start right from, any phase, because we all do so much online shopping now, right?
Yeah.
You could get an email saying that your order didn't go through, right? It's not, it used to be just you missed your shipment couldn't be delivered, right? Now it's, there's a problem with your order. Well, oh yeah, I just ordered something yesterday, right?
Yeah. Especially if it says coming from Amazon. Everybody's shopping on Amazon.
Yeah. So, almost any email from a merchant could be suspicious, even if it's somebody that you've actually ordered from.
Absolutely. And speaking of Amazon, the second tip I wanted to talk about was doing business with reputable vendors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. And I specifically want to call out Instagram and Facebook vendors. There has been a huge increase in scams around products and services being offered through Facebook and Instagram ads, which are nothing more than scams. So you'll read stories in the news about people that have bought a certain product and they never receive it, or the quality isn't necessarily what you would expect because the beautiful ad looked to be some wonderful product and it was a scam. And there are tons of these scams out on the social networks. So definitely be cautious of that.
For sure. I mean, Amazon, whether you like them or not, I mean, they're pretty good at managing, the security of transactions and things like that. So as long as you're sure it's them, you're probably, fairly safe. But you're right. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, and any sort of vendor or organization whose primary business is not security or commercial transactions, then you got to be careful.
That's right. And when you are doing business, the advice is always to use a credit card instead of a debit card, because if that credit card gets compromised, you're not held liable for a fraudulent charge. But on a debit card, it's a whole other story because that's tied into your checking account. You lose that money instantly. And every bank is different on the time frames required, things you may have to do. I know with my bank, many years ago, I fell victim to that. I used a debit card. It was compromised, and it took almost a month or more to get my money back, a couple $100 back into my account. And I had to sign an affidavit saying that it was a fraudulent charge, all this paperwork. So just don't use debit card when you're shopping.
Yeah, totally. I don't even use them at the gas pumps.
No, I don't even use
skimmers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are other ways of secure ways of paying things now. Besides using a credit card, you can use things like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, Google Pay. These are now, I'm starting to see them more available through websites, which is a good thing as well. That's so, and if you are tying a credit card, make sure it's a credit card you're tying to that Apple Pay account and not a debit card as well. So
yes, yeah, good ideas.
Yep. The other tip here is around using a password manager. So we've been big proponents of using a password manager. It doesn't matter what it is. one password, LastPass. There's lots of vendors out there. They're all really good.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days we'll do a kind of a showdown, I think, between the top vendors. But honestly, any password manager is better than no password manager.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it is
just do
scary. I
something.
remember when web password managers first sort of came on the market, and I'm going,
Yeah,
ooh, that's scary, putting all your passwords on the web. But I mean, they have pretty good architecture. They have
they
pretty
do.
good, protections. Many encryptions, many hashes of the passwords. Lots of really good protection. So if you were going to do it, it's probably done more or less the right way. And there are some other really good benefits from them too. And that is, first of all, you can store notes that are important to you.
That's right.
Even if it's not just login credentials,
Mm-hmm.
credit card numbers, et cetera, can be stored there as well. And there was one other thing I was thinking. So some of them will tell you if you're at a site that's trying to collect a password for the site you think it is, and they can warn you. This is not the site that that password belongs to.
Yeah, LastPass is interesting. It actually has a whole a way to check your passwords and your emails to see if they were part of a data breach in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah,
So they will, kind of scan that for you, and that's just great information to know because, as I mentioned earlier, one of those scams is, account takeovers and
yeah,
people trying to use and reuse passwords that may have been exposed
yeah.
through a data breach.
Another cool feature that I actually have used, and it's actually been an inconvenience. Sort of security sometimes is, right? But it turns out I was using a VPN one time to test, what it would be like for a user in Australia to be searching for something that ClickArmor, is marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'd do phishing, gamification, awareness, or something. But I would do a VPN to Perth, Australia, and clear my cache and do a incognito window and say, okay, so I'm a totally anonymous person searching for this stuff somewhere in the world, and to see what my ranking comes, because it's much different when you do it from your own browser in your own city where you always hit it. But I was doing that, and then the next day I'm trying to log into LastPass from a website, and it's going, or from the web page, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going, sorry, you're not allowed in from where you are. And I'm going, I'm just home. It took me a while to figure out, oh, okay, I forgot to turn my VPN off. So it's actually got a
That's
capability where
good.
you can say, only allow logins from Canada or
Mm-hmm.
US or whatever. And you can really like lock it down. So nowhere else in the world can, unless you're traveling, you don't need it to be able to log in from those places.
That's a great feature. So, kind of on that same lines of passwords and password managers, a next tip is about enabling two-factor authentication everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if it is available on a site that you use, you
Yeah.
absolutely need to enable it.
Yeah, for sure. It's getting a little bit annoying as well that so many different sites use different authenticators. I was
Yeah.
just came across one the other day. I can't even remember what it was, but it's using Authy, and I've
Mm-hmm.
never used Authy before. But now I've got a Google Authenticator, a LastPass Authenticator, an Authy Authenticator, a Microsoft Authenticator. But they are all. I mean, it is important. So you just put them in one folder on your iPad or iPhone or whatever. But it really does let you. Strengthen your security in case your password is stolen. Now, a target attack can still
Sure.
get around it if they really, really want to, right?
That's correct. But again, everybody has to do kind of their own risk assessment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're somebody that is potentially, could be a target of a targeted attack, then yes, you need to take extra precautions. But for the majority of people, just the average person, you still
Yeah.
should enable two-factor authentication because
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
it is a threat to everyone.
Yeah. And
Account
that risk I
takeovers.
just described is really only possible out of a phishing attack, right? They have to
Right.
lure you to a fake site. So know your phishing rules.
Yes, exactly. And there are other attacks like, that get a little more advanced around, SIM hijacking attacks, which we've talked
Yeah.
about on the show, where,
A
someone
little
could call
scary.
your phone company and social engineer the customer support to transfer your phone number over to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they get your text messages, which again is a reason why in the industry, we always recommend, not implementing text-based
Yeah.
two-factor authentication because of attacks like that.
Yeah. I'm still surprised there are so many places that do use text-based.
And in the big
time.
reason, I think, Scott, is because that was the first type of two-factor authentication to really be widely adopted. And
Yeah. So here's a funny story. So when I was working at Entrust as a product
mhm.
manager, this was 97 to
Oh yeah,
2001, I
way
think it
back.
was, right? Mobile phones had just come out, for a few years it was affordable, but texting was possible.
Mhm.
And somebody came up with this idea, hey, what if we texted a password, or a PIN to somebody that they would enter onto the website? It sounds a great idea, except it took 10 minutes to get the actual PIN.
And that's way too long. 10 minutes in this day and
Yeah, now you
age.
get it instantaneously.
Got to
Yeah.
be instant. So our last piece of advice is around keeping your devices up to date, right?
Yeah.
Fully
Yeah.
patched. So no matter what type of device you're using, your phone, your smartphone, your desktop, your laptop, ensure that you're running, the auto Windows updates. If you're running Windows, ensure updates are running on your Mac.
Yeah.
Every major operating system has a way to stay up to date. And honestly, I think it's gotten a lot easier over the years. One thing I do recommend is if you have an older device, like I'm talking 3, 4, 5 years old
Yeah.
at this point, or even older, you really should be thinking about getting new hardware, because newer hardware supports newer operating systems, which by their design are just more secure,
Yeah.
and have more security features built into them than these older systems.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing people don't often think about, it's inconvenient when you get a little pop up that says, you've got new updates. Please reboot your computer. Yeah, a lot of people will just defer that forever, right? But you really should reboot it when they say.
Absolutely. And I've been seeing a lot more kind of advice from the cybersecurity community of, just reboot your computer, every so often. That's
Yeah.
another, or your device. Same thing with
Yeah.
your phone. I mean,
Yeah.
phones especially, like when was the last time a lot of people never reboot their smartphones because everything just seems to work. But
Yeah.
it's actually good hygiene to reboot your devices frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Cool. Well, that's a great set of tips, I think, for everybody, for the holidays especially. And these days, I think it's just something that we're going to have to start living with. That we're going to be under attack more, and there's more risks facing us.
There really are. And it was interesting just talking to some colleagues and friends recently, just about, will things ever go back to, an office environment like we've all kind of been used to? And I'm not sure. I think the remote workforce may actually be here to stay, even when this pandemic goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing forecasts for, company expenses. And I'm going, I used to budget so much for office space. I'm going, I think I can cut that back quite a bit, right?
It's a big conversation that's being, I think, that executives and boards of directors and everyone is having right now of, do we need to pay this really expensive office space when most companies these days, especially in the corporate world, I think are doing just fine remotely.
Yeah, actually, there's a company here in Ottawa. You might know Shopify, and they announced they're like totally remote, right? So like they've let their office go.
Yeah,
so pretty amazing.
Crazy times.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today.
That does. So as always, you can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast listening app. So we're everywhere you like to listen to podcasts. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. And you can always check us out at sharedsecurity.net for all previous episodes. And we also have a really nice YouTube channel with all of the videos, with this video and others.
Even the ones with Kevin's face in person.
Yes, you can. If you've heard Kevin before, you can actually see him on YouTube. And I'll apologize in advance. No.
There you go.
But until next time, Scott.
Great to talk to you. And maybe we'll get one more show in before the holidays.
That's right. We will. It's almost the end of the year. So
that's right. So we'll be wearing our Santa hats and stuff.
I'll have to do that for the next episode. I'll be festive.
All right. Well, good chatting with you folks, and hopefully you get some good tips out of us, and Stay safe.
Yep. Stay safe and take care.